Do you have a rotator cuff injury? Let's dive into exercises that will help you manage that pain, improve your tolerance to activity, and strengthen up that shoulder to minimize risk for future injury. Hey Prehab, welcome back to the channel. I'm Dr. Arash, physical therapist, and today we're going to start with the anatomy of the rotator cuff muscles. Now, this muscle group includes 4 different muscles that begin on the scapula, or that shoulder blade, and end onto the humerus, or that upper arm bone. The rotator cuff muscles include the supraspinatus, the infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. In isolation, these muscles perform shoulder abduction, or lifting the arm out to the side, as well as internal and external rotation below shoulder height. The rotator cuff acts as a joint stabilizer, and during dynamic movements such as pushing or pulling, these muscles will keep the humerus head centrated within the joint, so the head of the humerus does not move too much. Rotator cuff related shoulder pain presents with lateral shoulder pain in this upper arm area. Pain often occurs with activity such as reaching overhead or reaching behind your back. Familiar pain can be reproduced with resisted abduction, reaching your arm out to the side, and external rotation of the shoulder, moving like this. It also occurs from a lack of load tolerance. Essentially what happens is you're placing too much demand for what the muscle can handle, so the shoulder ends up complaining. Let's go into 3 different phases of exercises to help take care of this issue. All right, let's start with phase 1. Phase 1 is if your shoulder is in high levels of pain, typically above a 5 out of 10, and that sharp pain is typically on that outer portion of the shoulder. Now, we're gonna begin with 4 different isometric exercises. The first one will be a shoulder external rotation, where you're gonna get set up against the wall, and you're gonna place your hand into the wall and start driving pressure into that wall with your hand, not the elbow. You wanna keep the shoulder blade pulled back as you do this, and pretend like you're doing this external rotation. However, you're just pushing up against the wall, and the wall is gonna push up against you to target that muscle. 2 rounds of 30 seconds, and this will be more of the supra and infraspinatus. Now, the second one, let's grab a resistance band and come up with that external rotation into this 90-degree position. And you're just gonna hold this for 30 seconds as well. This will be a bit more of the teres minor. Still, you're gonna get a little bit of the other rotator cuff muscles as well, and just hold that position. Make sure you don't shrug up too much. Make sure you do not arch the back as you do this. The third one will be targeting the big rotator cuff muscle, the subscapularis. You're gonna place your hand up against the wall, and you're gonna perform an internal rotation movement with this one. So I'm just gonna be here, and I'm gonna try to drive my hand into the wall, again, shoulder blades pulled back, and I'm gonna hold as strong as I feel comfortable for 30 seconds. And then the last one, the fourth one, will be a shoulder abduction exercise. Similar setup to the first one, however, you're gonna drive into the wall with your elbow. You wanna pretend to be doing the shoulder abduction motion, not external rotation. Rather lift the arm up in a lower degree position. So I have my arm at about 30 degrees of shoulder abduction, and I'm driving into the wall. And if it's more comfortable, you can place a towel in between your arm and the wall for a little bit of support. Now, all these movements are isometrics, where it should feel better as you hold the position and you decide how much load you place into those tissues. So try these out. These will create this analgesic effect of calming down that pain. And let's jump into phase 2 with that being said. In phase 2, we're gonna target these tissues with heavy, slow tempo training. Let's go through those same 4 motions with a little more load this time. Now for the first one, external rotation, we're gonna get set up with a dumbbell somewhere around 1 to 5 pounds. I have 5 pounds here. I'm gonna begin in the sideline position. You can do this on the floor as well. Now I'm gonna keep my shoulder blade pulled back, and I'm gonna rotate externally as far as I can, trying to bring my hand up towards the ceiling, and then I lower down towards the floor. And the reason why I like some type of elevated surface like this is I can go through that full range of motion as I do this exercise. And you wanna shoot for 2 sets of 15 repetitions. Go very slow and controlled. Think about a 3-0-1-0 tempo, where you go 3 seconds down, no hold at the bottom, 1 second up, no hold at the top, and you're just going very slow and controlled. That's the first one. Now, let's progress this by going into this 90-90 position. So the same idea of the phase 1 exercise, where we did this shoulder iso hold at this 90-degree position. This time we're gonna go through a range. Now, as you move, you only wanna move the shoulder you don't want to get the whole arm to move. The focus is the rotator cuff muscles, so we keep that shoulder blade pinned back. Nothing is going to move except for that shoulder as you do this, and you should feel the muscles on the back of the shoulder work. Try to get through that full range of motion. Again, 2 rounds of 15 repetitions here. Now the third one, actually, we're going to flip over and we're going to do the same thing with shoulder internal rotation. So I'm bringing my arm up a little higher this time. This is a little more of a vulnerable, unstable position, which is where I want to strengthen the shoulder. And I'm going to perform shoulder internal rotations by bringing the band down as far as I can. This motion is typically a bit stronger than external, so you may need to walk out a little further or strengthen up the band. What I could even do here with my resistance band is just double it up and do that same motion as I have a bit more tension here. You can stay in a staggered stance position if balance is challenging, just to make sure that you load that tissue properly. So that's the third one. Now the fourth one was strengthening into shoulder abduction. And what I'm gonna do is grab dumbbells that are somewhere between 5 to 10 pounds. And I'm gonna perform shoulder abductions or lateral raises, but making sure I'm initiating with the shoulder blade. Those are activated. And then from there, I lift my arm out to the side here. Again, slow on the way down. And then that's okay if I come up a little quicker on the way up. But I want to control the eccentric part of this motion. And if going too high it bothers you, then stay within a range that feels good. And what you can even do if you want to make this just eccentric is shorten that moment arm as you lift up and then straighten the elbows, slowly return back to that starting position. So try those 4 movements out. This will be if your shoulder is in a little bit less pain. Maybe there's just a bit of an ache or you can't get into that full range of motion or get back into heavy loads. Try this phase out. Phase 3 will address strengthening the shoulder with compound movements. We're going to strengthen into upper body horizontal push-pull and vertical push-pull. Now, these movements will require just a band and a kettlebell or some sort of dumbbell. And the first one will be a traditional push-up. What we want to focus on here is making sure the shoulder has strong co-activation of all the scapula and shoulder muscles. You're staying strong and engaged, and you're just lowering slow and controlled, and then you can push back up fast. Now these movements should be for 3 sets of 10 repetitions, a bit less repetition range as we're building up more strength. The second one will be a banded row. What I'd like for you to do is if you can try to pull into a bit of a higher position, challenging the shoulder muscles a bit more versus some sort of low row. Again, make sure that your scapula is engaged, pulling back. 3 sets of 10 repetitions as you do this row. Let's get back onto the floor. Let's go into the vertical movements. Now the first one will be a half kneeling kettlebell overhead press with one arm. We're gonna grab that kettlebell, start with this overhead position here. I like to keep the other arm out, and then you're gonna slowly lower as you raise back up again. Now, if this position bothers you, the good thing about doing it with one arm is you can rotate your body away to open up that shoulder so that this is not necessarily your end range position here. So open your body as needed and make sure to perform this slow and controlled. Find a weight that you can do for at least 12 repetitions, but do it for 10 reps. So you don't wanna go completely to failure with this. The third one is a lat pull down, traditional lat pull down here, vertical pull in a half kneeling position. You're pulling your shoulders down and back as you're bringing your elbows towards your back pocket. Squeeze this position and then slowly return back to that starting position again. 3 rounds of 10 reps. So nothing fancy here, but we're addressing building up shoulder strength in all different planes of motion here, making sure that we built foundations, the foundational strength with phase 1 and phase 2 before we jump into phase 3. In summary, in phase 1, we'll focus on isometric exercises to help manage high levels of pain and improve activation to these muscles. In phase 2, you'll progress into slow tempo resistance training to better target rotator cuff strength and improve tolerance to loaded upper body motions. Now, in phase 3, we'll integrate the rotator cuff muscles with all the surrounding muscles to build dynamic stability of the shoulder using upper body push, pull movements into both the horizontal and vertical plane. Thank you all for tuning in, and if you're looking for more information on the rotator cuff, check out the rotator cuff rehab program within our app. Let us know if there's any other topics that you would like us to cover. Until next time.
Hey, did you like this video? If you did, you should definitely check out the Prehab app. It includes all of our programs, a brand new workout library, and tons more videos like the one you saw today. Check it out by clicking on this link. You get a free trial. Take control of your health today.